you know what? We weren't scared to fail. And when you play the game without being scared to fail, the whole game changes.
Hello, welcome to Hired, the podcast. I'm Travis Miller, and today joined by friend Jim Shaw. Jim here is the president and co-founder of Zion Solutions Group, a company established not too long ago, 2022. It specializes in supply chain integration and automation solutions. Guy's got over 25 years of experience in supply chain. He's got a proven track record leading successful projects, driving innovation, and his expertise encompasses supply chains, operations, systems integration, material handling, and logistics. This man is passionate about fostering a culture of engaged employees and building dynamic partnership relationships. In addition to this, he's also the host of the burgeoning podcast, The Zion Experience, and he serves on the advisory boards for the JB Speed School of Industrial Engineering at University of Louisville and the Supply Chain Advisory Board at the University of Georgia's Terry College of Business. Sorry for the long-winded intro, Jim, but you got a hell of a bio. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Travis. I really appreciate it. And I'm usually the one reading the bio, and then it's like I'm going out and I'm the same way. It's like you don't like your bio read. I'm a pretty humble guy, and I have done a lot, but that's not what life's about to me. So, but yeah, I do. I've got a lot of different experiences in life, good experiences.
Yep, and I'm sure we'll touch on some of them. I'm interested to talk to you because I actually haven't talked to a lot of founders at companies as young as yours, and I've been here for 15 years, but we're a 55-year-old company. And so I've never created something whole cloth. And I'm curious what that's like to build this baby of yours from the ground up with just you and a couple partners founding it. How did you decide on what the culture of the organization was going to be, and how did that relate to the mission and vision of the organization, and what did you do to establish that?
Yeah, so first it was I've been building smaller companies most of my adult life. You just don't realize it. You've got some people. I've got a concrete MBA. I had somebody say this the other day, and so I'm going to start using that. So I grew up on the concrete working for UPS. A lot of good business practices there. Spent several years there at 17 years. I've started real estate companies. I had a construction, several different groups of real estate companies. Nothing massive, but I built my first real estate company when I was in college and 21 years old. And Zion was just an extension of a 25 plus year journey in what I've chosen to work in, which is the supply chain industry. And it was through a crucible that the decision was made. So you always have catalyst in life, or you have forks in the road. And we certainly had that. We were all the founders. There's four of us that started Zion 3 years ago. And we all had previously worked together. We were working together at a similar systems integration company. And that company was acquired by a private equity group. And so the directions went two different ways, right? And so we had working knowledge of the business side and aspect of what we wanted to create with Zion. The easiest part was like we knew what to do. We were running the company. We were the leadership. We were the heart and soul. Chuck, one of the partners, you can see Chuck behind me there. He's the one smiling with the black coat on, and Drew, and if I can move my head, Jordan's the one in the blue, and me. Those are the four of us. That's actually March of 2022 when we taped our About Us video that we did to just establish who Zion was. But so we all had working knowledge of the business practices, but there's a lot of things that put a company together. So you mentioned it. To me, it was foundational of what do we want to be. We call it, a lot of people, the industry's calling it mission, vision, values, right? Everybody knows that. What's your strategy? We've been going through the last year plus a business operating system that's called Pinnacle. It's kind of an offshoot of EOS. They call it core purpose, your core values, and then your brand promises. It's just different terminology for the same meaning. So we used vision, mission, value, and our vision was pretty simple. We wanted to deliver memorable experiences, and we wanted to guide intelligent change. We put our values down on paper, which were, traditional one-word values. We had those. And then the rest of it was just, it's how do you pull it together? And I've said this multiple times. I haven't done it in a while, but we had a pretty clear purpose at the time of we just wanted to work with good people. We wanted good partners. Good people plus good partners equals helping good customers, and everything else will fall in place. So you need those guiding lights, and we had it. We had the business mindset. Any of the four of us could probably be a standalone founder in terms of the actual application of our professional abilities. There's a financial aspect of it. We bootstrapped ourselves, and we got it started. We were fortunate. And then there's the aspect of how do you go get the business? Mm-hmm. That's where the fun came in, the chaos came in, and the real hard work and rolling your sleeves came in. But it started, Travis, with just what did we want our vision to be? Deliver memorable experiences and guide intelligent change. We've transitioned that a little through Pinnacle. Like I told you, our core purpose is to leave a positive impact on the lives of those we touch. Our brand promises now are deliver memorable experiences, guide intelligent change, and you don't get the B team. And our core values are better together, unwavering commitment, and be bold. And there's some terminology behind what those are, but that's Zion. But it all came back to, it's a really simple equation: good people, good partners, helping good customers. And if you do those things and you have the business practices in place and you have a little bit of luck, and you've got that purpose that you wake up and look for every day, that's how Zion started. It was as simple as that. And then we went out and we got to work and we found customers and we established the branding. I could go down a whole hole of what we did in terms of building the business out and the branding effort behind it, and ultimately how we secured our first jobs. But it was really an extension of what we'd been doing. Mm-hmm. I look at it as more of a rebranding effort, and that's what we did. So
how do you hire for that, for the good people? It's one of the hardest things to hire for. Anybody can go out and use any number of tools to find resumes and backgrounds that match a skill set that you're looking to hire for. But it's everything under the surface that is the most important part of a person's success with an organization like yours. How do you hire for that? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I think hiring to us has been one of those items. It's like we've been a natural attractor of people that want to come and work for us. So it's, even if you go back 3 or 4 years ago when the industry got really tight and the salaries jumped, and it was a tight, there wasn't a lot of job openings, right? It was keep and retain, and you were having stay conversations and don't leave conversations and retention conversations. And you were really trying to hold on to the workforce because the industry had boomed so much. But we've been a natural attractor of people. And I think it's culture. People want to work with people they enjoy, right? Money's important. I don't never dismiss that. But my conversation is with the team is you've got to like us. It's not that I only got to like you, but you've got to like us. And so we lead with culture. And then you got to be competitive on the salary and benefits. And then you got the skill set. It's really those are the three things that if I've qualified and interviewed and talked to a lot of people, and anybody that listens to this, when they do, or if they do, they're like, yeah, that was it. My first conversation is just that. It's a conversation. I'm not as involved with the interview process today as I used to be, maybe. But in terms of what we put in, it's conversational. Do they meet our culture? Are we on the same page about what they need in terms of financials and what they're looking for in terms of a compensation package? We have a super competitive compensation package. We, for instance, one of our vacation plans, you hear a lot of unlimited PTO. I have a mandatory PTO of 2 weeks. And then after that, it's like, take as much as you can. And it allows you to do your job, but it's mandatory. It's a twist on unlimited, but it's mandatory that you take 2 weeks. We have a health and wellness credit. We give our team, we have an allowance yearly that to go out and to spend money on anything that makes their health and wellness journey better. Could be a pair of shoes, go buy you a treadmill, could be a gym membership, could be a meal plan, but we've got the comp package that's more than just dollars and cents and hard dollars and cents. And then the skill has to be there. And as far as skill, we're at a unique place in terms of the generations. We've got 2 or 3 different generations that are all meshed together. And I'm probably going to get this wrong, but you've got the baby boomer generation that's kind of they're nearing the end of their career.
Yeah.
You've got my generation, which I like the Gen X, I think is what we are, and the millennials. And there was a lot of noise about the millennials, but technically I'm a millennial, but I'm probably more suited to a Gen X. But they're a group, and then this new group is I think it's Gen Z that's all coming together. And I tell you what, they're different. Like there's a stark difference between the generation that's near the end of their career and the Gen Z coming in. And so we look, and I steal this from one of the other guys, Drew, is attitude and aptitude and potential. That's what I'm most concerned with. But the conversation starts, Travis, with it's a play on words, but I want them to be comfortable with us and to look us in the eye and say they can do the job and they want to be here versus me making all the decision that it's me recruiting you. So it's very much how do you meet in the middle? And it's a partnership. That's how we do everything in life. I use that word very, very intentionally in terms of a partnership. We're not transactional. They don't work for me. They're part of our team. They're part of our family. They're not blood family. Some may be. We got some blood family that works with us, but it's you have the same core ingredients and values of a family, right? You're better together. You're committed to each other. You're bold with each other. You don't walk around words, but whole lot said there, but that's kind of our philosophy. If I generalize it really, really general.
Yeah. I hate to generalize even more and lump people into categories, but I am curious if you've noticed any consistencies when you're interviewing people from Gen X versus millennials versus Gen Z. Have you noticed a difference in what they're searching for and what is drawing them and attracting them to you and to Zion?
Yeah, I would say the millennials and Gen Z is probably a little more general. And this isn't relevant for everybody, Travis, but it would be like there's a greater sense of belonging and having a voice and being part of something. You know, if you think about the generation that's led us, like it was I had a speaker told us this one time, is very triangular, like top down. That's how the baby boomer generation is really, that was the workforce. Like there is a leader and everybody else is below that leader and they set the direction and you follow. My dad didn't give me an option of what I wanted at the dinner table. I sat down and was expected to eat, right? So I'm more that generation, that Gen X group. And the guy said, okay, so if the boomers are triangles, then the Gen X is more of a rectangle they're a connector. And the millennials, the Gen Zs weren't here. This is how long ago this was. They weren't in the workforce really yet, but the millennials, and I would throw the Gen Z in this as well, as more of a circle, is like our generations have raised our children because we didn't want to be treated like you're going to do this and it's top down and, you don't have an opinion. Now we've asked their opinion and we've, what do you want to eat? And you got 3 different meals at the dinner table sometimes. And so you've created this circle of like, we're in it together. And the Gen X is the bridge between those generational gaps. And he told us, and he said, he made it, how if you go back 5-10 years ago, it's like there was all this buzz around the millennials and like, are they, they're more difficult to manage and all. And I haven't seen that at all. I don't think that. I don't think that. Let me put that out there. But he said he was talking to this group of more of the baby boomer generation of like, you created them. You had them at your dinner table. You gave them an opinion. And now it's like, so if you don't like managing them in your business, you've created it. And it's always kind of stuck with me. A guy named Ryan Avery, if you want to look him up, very dynamic speaker, great speaker. Ryan said that at a Mahita conference. Oh, it's been probably 6 to 8 years ago, Travis, but there's a lot of truth to it. But the belonging, the having an opinion, they're all good things. They're all things that you got to learn and be flexible. And I think that's what Zion does well. And why people are attracted to us is we're not stuck in our ways. We're very much a culture of, again, I want good people. Doesn't mean every person, but good people that work within our culture, helping partners. And then we go out and try to find the customers that best, represent our ICP, our ideal customer profile, that we can best service and deliver a memorable experience to and guide intelligent change with. So
I thought the traditional org chart was pretty stupid for a long time. I mean, if you look at it, you've got the leader up at the top standing on the shoulders of everyone below him, supporting him up there. And for a long time, I've always thought that it should be reversed. There is generally an individual or small group of people that are setting the mission and vision for the organization. But they're the roots, they're the base, and they're building everyone up above them towards the heavens to collectively work together and become a living, breathing community to achieve that mission and vision. And I'm not sure how many leaders out there still have that mindset that I'm the top of the organization and everyone is below me. But I think if there are, those are the people that are going to have a difficult time attracting
the next generation.
These groups of individuals that do really want to be a part of something. If you have a competitive compensation package, and not that product is irrelevant, but that you want to do something great with what your company does, that it helps others achieve even more than they could without your assistance. I think that's how you get people bought into what you're trying to accomplish. And I thought it was very on point what you said earlier, that I need to attract you to me just as much as I need to be confident that you belong here as well. It is a two-way street. It's not I don't think of it as an interview anymore. I mean, it's such a common phrase that we're never going to get rid of it, but it's just got to be a conversation. It can't be a one-way interview, because then you're never going to get people bought in.
I think the companies that don't evolve, Travis, I think the companies that still manage like you're in 1990 or 2000s, you're not going to attract the talent because the business environments change. I don't know where your parents worked, where my parents worked. Like pensions were very much a thing. You had one job and you stayed there, and you don't have that anymore. In terms of, some people want to call it loyalty, and I'm like, you can't call it loyalty when there's not loyalty from the supplier. I mean, from the company down, right? There's what is loyalty. So now your decision making criteria is, what is the company doing? What's their purpose, right? What's their purpose? What's the culture and the people you work with? And then what's the comp, right? Mm-hmm. And I've got a good friend who's a teacher, and he's like, people won't leave for $1,000, but they would leave for $10,000 because that changes their life in terms of different sizes, different levels of compensation. And we're trying to build a culture to where the natural attractor and the people and what we do is not, it's not a much about the money factor side of it. That is important, but it's more about, I get to work with people I enjoy working with every day. I'm surrounded by those people. I get energy from those people. And anybody that's had multiple jobs, I've said this multiple times, like I left UPS, I left the last systems integrator. The hardest thing I left was leaving the people that I work with. It wasn't this name on the shirt. That's important, right? I'm not dismissing that. I'm really proud of this name on the shirt with Zion. I'm proud of everywhere I've worked. That's my natural, that's just my natural, I'm proud of where I work, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not why I worked there. I worked there because of the people, and I enjoyed it and the purpose that they were doing. And so I think the leaders that are blind to that are going to struggle to find the best talent and retain them and keep them. Yeah. Now, I will sell this. I'll tell you this, because I had this with the next generation and some of them, and it's not like there is a time and place for a leader in leadership. And so I think that's the bridge that companies are going to have to, that's the problem you're going to have to solve as you mix these multi-generational workforces together. In the generation I grew up with is there was a natural subordination to authority, right? And so if someone asked you to do something and told you to do something and their role was above you and they were the leader in the organization, like there was less questioning, there was less, I go do it. There was more, you fall in line, more, not militaristic, but more of a mindset of like, we have something to do, let's go accomplish it.
There's a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy. That's right. Good word for it. So in this next gen, I tell my team sometimes, because we're small enough still that I lead marketing and business development. I'm very involved still in the business. Our founders are very involved in the business, but I am the president. So I've got direct reports that report to the president, but it's because I'm running marketing. And so I have this conversation we've got a young lady named Amelia she's just fabulous. She's done a great job with what we're doing. And, but I tell her I have to tell her sometimes whether I got my president hat on or whether I'm the marketing or I'm a team member hat. And I tell her to just look at me as any other team member. Like we're only as good as us together and getting it done. But then there are times where it's like this needs to be done. I know no one it's not fun work, but it needs to be done for the success of the business, or it's a tough decision we need to make. And so you have to have those conversations and be comfortable with them. And that's part of our career development and our individual development plans are our quarterly conversations. Mm-hmm. What's working, what's not working, what adjustments need to be made. What do you really enjoy doing? What do you maybe not like so much? And then you're constantly fine tuning that, but there is a time and place where there needs to be a leader. And I think companies will have to establish how they do that without going back to that just pure hierarchy of, well, do it because I told you so, yeah. Right? And my style's never been that way. My style is more of a servant leadership. I told you I talk a whole lot, Travis. I warned you about this, but mine's more of a service leadership. And so in the servant leadership, one of the books that I'm really attracted to and I try to read yearly or every other year is The Carpenter by John Gordon. Okay. And it's a super quick read. If you've never read it, somebody that's out there is looking, and it's just a really good book. And it's all about serving others, inspiring others, and how you lead others. And it's more based on a carpenter, the analogies back to Jesus Christ and how did he serve others and put others, ahead of himself. And a business is no different. It's really not. Like there's a time and place to when you need to lead, you lead, and we do, and I do. But otherwise I'm just a part of the team, and we're all there to, again, what's our purpose? We want to leave a positive impact on the lives of those we touch. Mm-hmm. And if you wake up every day with that light in front of you and that goal and that purpose, and it's pretty easy to get up and have some energy and passion on how you do it. And if you've got good people you're working with, good partners, and you got some customers you're helping that are good, I go back to that equation, Travis. I try to simplify it, and we try to simplify it. But
I want to take a couple minutes here to pick your brain about current state of the industry. And this podcast probably isn't going to come out for a couple of weeks, so the entire world could be different than it is today. But
tariffs could double.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you're seeing right now in the supply chain automation integration industry, and what are you doing to overcome?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is just the business climate and the geopolitical business climate. And it's not just on one point, it's on multiple points. So that's been tough to navigate. I thought we would get through the election year and then there would be more stability in terms of people are more comfortable to spend money and not hold and wait. So that's one big challenge, just the economy in general. But we're so tied closely to the economy. I mean, we're the movement of goods, right? That's what the supply chain is. And that's what my Zion supports is the intralogistics of building systems that support the movement of goods from point A to point B and getting them to customers. So we're super tied in close to it, and just the economy's up and down, up and down. You see it in the systems integration business anyway. It's always kind of on a 5-year cycle, and it's lumpy is the word we use. So that's one. The other is really just the state of what's the right investment of labor versus automation and robotics and technology. That's just, it's been going. COVID really gave it a bump, and I think the post-COVID is we're seeing where the industry is going to kind of fall out into. And then the third point I would say is just the industry is contracting. The big companies are getting bigger. They're merging, they're acquiring. We had some mergers this week of a couple bigger companies. And so the smaller, the more boutique, the more nimble systems integrators are I don't want to say they're aging out, but you've got a generation that's they're succession planning, and whether the family-owned companies are going over and they're being acquired for their relationships and their customers and et cetera. But those are the three biggest ones. And then you asked, so I'd say geopolitical. I would say the state of what's the right level of automation investment, robotics, automation, mechanization versus just truly having labor, and how do you do it? And then just the industry in general of, it's a huge industry, but it's getting smaller, and the tier one bigger guys are getting bigger and the smaller are getting smaller, you know, and how are we, what are we doing to navigate this is we've made, this is an investment year for us. So we had a really solid first 3 years. We were blessed with some really good business, really good customers. We're very thankful for that, and thankful we grew in this industry fairly quick. So we went from 0 to 30 people in, less than 24 or 36 months, which is,
it's quick.
That's a lot when that's what I have. I don't have a product. I have people. I'm a service-based systems integrator. So we are making investments in how we're branding, how we're going after business. Business development has traditionally been relationships or technology or brand. So we've got a very intentional marketing and business development strategy, and we've made investments in that. We brought on a director of business development who's doing fabulous for us, and I was moonlighting it, and Chuck was moonlighting it, and we all were doing it, and it's deserving of somebody that wakes up every day and that's their primary goal in life. So we did that, and then we made the investment in ourselves in a business operating system, Pinnacle. Which there's a ton of systems like this out there. And I would just encourage, if you're listening to this and you want to investigate it, Pinnacle's a really good one. There's EOS, there's strategy, there's a lot of other ways to get there. But at the end of the day, it's about having in place tools and processes that allow your business to scale and to grow and to be as efficient as possible. So we made that investment. It's been a year, 14, 15-month investment, Travis, and it's not easy work. It's working on the business instead of in the business. And when you're in the business as much as we are, it's just more stuff on your plate. But we know to be the company we want to be 10 years, 7 years, 10 years from now, it's an investment we had to make. And then sometimes it's rolling up your sleeves and getting through the hard times and being smart. We're a super conservative company. We bootstrapped ourselves. We've got all the financial tools and items in place to make really good decisions. And we're always watching our business in terms of managing it well. And so I'd just say those are the three things that we're doing. We're investing in ourselves. We've got a strategy, a longer term strategy. And then the short term, we're rolling our sleeves up and how do we help our customers? And it's hard to deliver a memorable experience. And, but that's what we wake up every day and try to do. So,
yeah, especially in the tough times. But I'm almost hesitant to say this, but and it can be hard to hear and hard to hear, especially when times are tough. But I think occasionally a correction can end up being a good thing for the good companies that are doing it, because in the boom times, industries expand greatly. I mean, ours in particular. I mean, can't even begin to count how many new recruiting and executive search firms between mid 2020 in 2023. And I think back to a story I heard back in the 80s. There was huge recession when you and I were kids, huge recession. And the founder of MRI, Alan Schoenberg, was up on stage at a national meeting, and he handed out bumper stickers that said, "The recession called, I didn't pick up." And it's that mindset that if everybody's claiming the sky is falling, you don't have to listen. You can be aware of what's going on out there, but you don't have to listen so long as you're willing to put in a little bit more work than everybody else. And if you can do a little bit more when times are tough, you're going to be the one left standing on the other side. And so many people aren't going to be. And you're going to be able to take so much advantage of times when they are good if you work a little bit harder when times are challenging. And I'd imagine that based on some of your extracurricular activities, that hard work is not something that you shy away from, and that's a value you probably instill in your organization.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And so, yes, and you need some luck. Like I'm not blind to the fact that like we've been, I'd use the word blessed intentionally, of that we've been blessed with good people in our lives. I think things happen for a reason. That's why Zion's where it's at. We've got a charitable arm of Zion called Acts of Kindness. We give away a substantial portion of our pre-tax operating profit and income, if you want to call it that. And I just believe that you need some luck. And again, back to that book, The Carpenters. Like we're here. It's easy to be a carpenter, but it's hard to be a craftsman. And we're trying to be a craftsman type company. And anybody can go do work, but to truly do it with a purpose and as a craftsman, like I feel that gets rewarded. And you're never out. Like business, you can be on top now, and 6 months from now, as things don't go your way. But if you're a business out there and you're struggling with this, my advice would be is what you need to do, put it on paper, make the decisions, have the plans in place, understand what we call them levers and levels. Like when do you need to pull lever 1, 2, and 3? And there's going to be, you've got to be built for the tough times. The easy times, it's easy when everything's going and everything's right. And I call it riding the road. The ride going up, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun work. You find out what you're made of when you're coming down, and how you handle that and how you deal with it. And it's not all great. I mean, you got to do, at the end of the day, Zion's bigger than myself or any individual at Zion. Zion's here to serve others, customers, in what we do. And you got to make the right decisions for your company. And you can't do that and react to it with a month, or it's like anything. You couldn't run a marathon and wake up the morning of and never have run before it. So you got to prepare for it. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the work. And I coach youth wrestling, Travis, and we teach our youth wrestlers, like, we're not out building first place champions. Like, that's an outcome that we desire. What we're doing is teaching individuals how to do hard things, how to be disciplined. And we're developing men and women now, because there's a lot of girls in the wrestling sport, of like to be good husbands, to be good parents, to be good brothers, to be good sisters, to be good spouses, to be good grandparents, to be good employees. Like, I grew up in a small farming community, and we're blue collar, and my family was blue collar, and I never been scared of hard work. But you got to have more than hard work sometimes too. You got to have some other things that play into that. But good point.
Yeah.
I know what I can't control, so I focus on what we can control in the business. Like, I can't control what's coming next with Russia and Ukraine. Got zero control over it. I can't control if this escalates between China and the United States and tariffs and what happens. That's out of my control. And you think of a traditional SWOT analysis, right? Those are threats I should be aware of. And they're known knowns. So Rumsfeld did a matrix of known and unknown. Yeah. Look it up sometime. It's pretty cool. It's like there's unknown unknowns that nobody can prepare for, but there's known unknowns. And so how do you prepare your business to get through that storm? And What do you put in place now? How do you be smart? And every business is going to look a little different, but when you're not scared, I told you I talk too much, Travis, but I told somebody this, this just hit me of one of the first conversations I had when we started Zion. It's like, you know what? I've never been scared of failure. That's why I think Zion is the group that we have here. We weren't scared to fail. You know what? We weren't scared to fail. And when you play the game without being scared to fail, the whole game changes. The rhythm at which you play it, the game's different. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? If you look that in the eye and you see it, you understand it, and you can accept it, you may not like it, that's how my mindset is, whether it's right or wrong. I don't know if other people can get to that point. It's like, I'm not scared of failure. I don't want to fail. I'm not scared of it. I look at it. I understand it. I'm an engineer, probably a little obsessive about it. It's like, that could be failure. That could be failure. It's like, I've got an audible. If that happened, this would happen. And I've never been scared of failure. And I think you got to have a little bit of that to be a founder or an entrepreneur. You got to have a little bit of crazy and fearlessness.
Yeah, you do. So what's next? What's next for you and for Zion?
Well, we're working our strategy. We've got we most do a 10-year, a decade out. We did 7 years. So we know where we want to grow the business. We've got our eyes set on that. We're like I said, making investments into the team this year. And we're looking at how do you diverse. I think one of the keys to a systems integration business of the future is going to be the diversity inside of it. The business is known. It's been for 20, 30, 40 years. It's been lumpy. Big jobs are good. Small jobs are hard to bring to life. How do you balance between the two? You're only as good as your backlog and your bookings. And so how do you put in place good diversity of revenue, of using the talents that you have? And so that's probably our main focus of how do we work our strategy. You take 10 years, which are, again, ours is 7. You go back and you look at it at 3 years, and then you say, okay, what do I need to do this year? And then those are the important items. In Pinnacle, they call them rocks, Travis. Mm-hmm. And a lot of other strategies call them different things, but strategic goals, critical success factors. There's a lot of other terminology you can use, but they ultimately, these rocks are what's going to move us forward towards our 1-year goal that pushes us to the 3-year picture that we want to get, that's striving for ultimately our pinnacle, they call it, our big, hairy, audacious goal. If you've read Jim Collins' book, that pinnacle plays on it, and that's what we're doing. And then those rocks turn into actions, and those rocks turn into what do you wake up and do every day, and how do you balance that of working on the business while you're working in the business. And that's where Zion's at. That's what we're doing. We had so much success in the first 3 years that we're fortunate enough to be able to kind of see clear and look out at what we want to be and how we're going to get there. And it's going to be fun. So
I'm excited to know you and watch you on your journey, Jim. Who are the people that could get the most advantage out of reaching out to you, and what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm one of these people that I'm more than happy to talk to anybody that's interested in leadership. That's if you're thinking about starting a company and you just want, I don't know everything. I really don't. I'm just a guy. I'm willing to share what I do know. But if there's somebody out there, it's a founder, or you're a potential customer, obviously, we'd love to have a conversation with you. If you're a potential founder, an entrepreneur, and you've been thinking about it and you just want to talk to somebody that's maybe been through it, has a journey I can share, glad to do it. If you just want to meet me, I love meeting new people. Like Travis, you reached out, we didn't know each other, and here we are having a conversation. It's just, I like talking to other people. I think you gain wisdom through that. I'm a relationship guy, and our network and our relationship sometimes is all we have. And just how you treat others, I think, resonates. It's an invisible thread that weaves through this world, and the industry's so small. I'm sure if we talked to 2 or 3 times, Travis, we'd know somebody that could, that we'd both know and be shocked by the fact that we both know them. But that's what I'd say. Yeah, anybody out there I'm open for any conversations. Nothing self-serving, but if you want to talk and I can help you, I'd be glad to share more with you.
Sounds good. Jim Shaw, it has been a pleasure. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Noah Cuff, as always, our producer, has been hired the podcast. Talk to you again soon.